Hey guys, welcome to The Complete Combatant. I'm Brian Hill, your coach today. Well, every day. That's what I do, is I love to coach, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it. A lot of you are getting a good amount of work in dry practice. Let's make sure you're not making mistakes with that. The problem in dry practice can be that we get so associated with how do we meet our PARs, our speed-based assessments, that oftentimes we don't pay enough attention to possibly aiming and pressing the trigger correctly. You're trying to beat that par, get the draw, all right? But you're not calling your shots while you're shooting. The red dot makes it incredibly easy. It's always been hard to call shots with iron sights, and red dot has made me really rethink classes, and I spend a considerable amount of time in red dot classes teaching shot calling because it is substantially easier and it's immediately rewarding because you get immediate feedback from it. And that's what's really important. Now, if you guys look in the background here, we have two different targets, whether you can see them really well. The one on this side over here, that one is a USPSA target. This one is a tactical target. The glare is really interfering with it, but it has a silhouette also, so we could see it. Basically the same silhouette, okay? So how do I do this when I have limited dry fire space? So this is a 25-yard shot from where the camera is to that target, and it looks to be, about that big, right? So I only have 5 yards at home, and that's the farthest distance I have. Well, thankfully, there's a cure for this, okay? Ben Steger's Pro Shop, they make these laser cut cardboard targets of different sizes, all right? So that you could see the different size target, all right? So at 5 yards, let me back up to about 5 yards here, okay? So that's probably a 10-yard target. And then we have the next one, which is a 15-yard target. You can see it's bigger than the other one. And then the final one would be the same size as what we're looking at right here, okay? So there's the scaled down, and that looks like at 5 yards or so, that looks about just like what I'm seeing in the background, okay? Now, hard to convince your brain that it's the same thing, right? I know. As soon as you get to a certain distance, for most people that's 7 yards, some people it's a little further, the brain starts yelling the word far and makes it harder to shoot. But when you're practicing in dry practice, you have to be in binary mode for shot calling. That means either it's a hit or it's a miss, okay? And if there's any doubt, then it's a miss. There's no other way to do that. Some other targets that they offer, they do pepper poppers and steel and all that. For those of you that have to shoot FBI quals, here's your 25-yard target. Here's your 15-yardish target, okay? Here's your 10-yard target. And the great thing about these silhouettes is you can't clearly see the lines or the indications of the target. So you actually have to use the actual silhouette. So if I'm going to aim on this guy, I've got to start from the shoulders right here and go to the middle. So from the middle of the head, middle of the shoulders, as long as I see the dot in this area right here, I'm going to call it a hit. Same thing with the USPSA. So the shoulders slip off to the side. Right here is the beginning of the alpha zone, all right? And they've etched alpha zones and all that in there, but as you get further away, it gets harder to see with it. But you can call your shots on this. Now, there's two ways to call your shots. One that we teach in class is see the shot lift from wherever it lifts from. That's where the bullet goes, and that's a great way to do it. There's also a way to call it in advance. You predict the movement, and you predict when you're going to press the trigger, and as soon as you feel that letting go, that's where the shot went, okay? Because in dry fire, we're not going to have the recoil. So if I have ever any doubt when I fire a shot and I'm dry practicing, then I consider it a miss, okay? And I'll practice it again, or I'll do a makeup shot. For you Glock people, you'll have to put a paster in your breech so you can move the trigger back and forth. With HK, it can still continue to move. It's no big problem for me, so I can continue the practice. Watch the sight movie, clean up the trigger as you press, keep it moving, and then you'll do a better job with it. And then these scaled targets will help you get much better quicker. We've got to convince the brain is the only thing that matters is the size of the target. Distance doesn't matter. It's our perception of what size that target is, okay? The more you practice with these smaller targets and the more you practice distance and the range, the more you'll desensitize yourself to the fear of distance. I believe that proximal distances have a lot to do in shooting with Edward T. Hall's work on proxemics, okay? And that we lose control of social space at about 25 feet. A lot of standards are 21 yards, 30 feet, they're somewhere in the middle of that. So we start feeling too far away and we lose our sense of control. It's getting out of our control. I think that matters to the human mind, that's too far away. But all we have to really do is look at that and say it's a very small target. So it requires me to stop the gun with a 20%, nice and gently. I need to really focus upon shooting with the dot, and I need to press the trigger as precisely as possible. Okay, if it's a middle-sized target, I'm going to carefully press the trigger. I'm going to allow the dot to float, but it's got to be inside the target, and then I'm going to stop the gun at 10%. And if it's a big old target and I'm really close, I'm going to stop it, just let it roll right to a stop, like most of us do at a stop sign. I'm going to see a flash of the dot or the back of the gun, and I'm going to press the trigger quickly in order to use that methodology. This is a great thing for your dry practice, having different sized targets and different ways to measure what the center of the silhouette is, because that's going to make you a better shooter overall. Remember, call your shots in advance. I'm cleaning up, cleaning up, cleaning up. I stayed with it, I stayed with it. It was there when I pressed, so it's a good shot. I'm thinking about it the whole time, and I call it yes or no. Doing the same thing, the gun moved, it's a miss, so I need to do it again. You get in that habit, then you get immediate feedback, and these different size scale targets will help you immensely. But there's a real danger, because people are optimistic in their dry practice, and they think everything's a hit. They always think they made the par time, you know, if they're when they're working really hard. So you got to be really careful with that. There's some great things that you can do at home, but these are relatively cheap at Ben Steger's Pro Shop, and you can just, you know, buy a couple and put them on your wall and put them up, take them down as you need to. You can turn them around so that they become non-threats too, so you cover up the other guy, make your shooting even harder like that, so you can have partial targets. That helps a lot. For you defensive shooters, you may not want to muzzle the non-threat, so you can practice not muzzling by going to a low ready if that's contextually sound, or a high ready if that's contextually sound, and you get better at it. All right, so there's my advice in dry practice. Be really good on calling the shots. Be binary. If there's any doubt, it's a miss. Okay, if there's no doubt, it's a hit. Get some different sized targets. I mean, frankly, you could cut these out yourself, but this is such an easy thing to order and get shipped to your house. It's great to go. So I highly recommend them. They're set up to the right size. Put them on your wall. Realize what you're working with. Tell your brain you just shot a 25-yard target. Desensitize yourself to such a small target and get really good at it. Use the dot because it is easier. I know some of you are using iron sights, but so you're going to have to make sure that it's right there in the center when you press and that striker moves or the hammer drops. And you'll have to really work on that. It can be done, but it's not an easy task. And I think most people, frankly, never learn to call a shot with iron sights. All right, you can do it. You got to do the work though. And there's an easier system now with the red dot, because you're looking at the target and you see the dot. You don't have an accommodation focal plane where the target's so blurry you're not sure if you're in it. Some of your eyes are degrading too, so you're going to want to get on the dot sooner than later so that you can develop some skill with it. Yeah, it's going to be painful. It's going to take you a little while, but you're willing to do the work because you're watching this video. So get to it as soon as you can. All right, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Please hit the subscribe button, share it. Man, you know, I give away so much information, and I think most of it's sound and it's good stuff, and you know, it's hard to get traction with technical information, so I need your help. Share it with other people. That would help the channel immensely. Hit the like button, leave a comment, let YouTube know that we exist, and it's a good algorithm for them to show our videos, and maybe that helps us in the long run. All right, guys, I'm Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant, and as always, measure, refine, and perform.